So what is the mortgage process if you're self-employed? This is a great question and one that we get all the time. Let me start by saying that we don't at Bison write the rules for the lending guidelines. These come from much bigger agencies, much bigger loan servicers where a lot of these loans eventually end up. So it's important to know that for all of us in the mortgage business, we're all operating under essentially most of the same rules and guidelines for how we qualify somebody, specifically with self-employed borrowers. So it's our job then to navigate you through those guidelines and to come up with creative solutions if necessary. That being said, what is the self-employed borrower process and what would it look like if you were the consumer? The first thing is you have to understand that the biggest surprise or aha moment with our clients comes when they realize that we're not qualifying you off of the income that you claim at the top level, meaning your gross income. We're qualifying you at a very simple level at your net income after your expenses. So, okay, Stuart, what does that exactly mean? It means that there's a massive catch-22 going on when you're self-employed. The benefit is you get to write off all these expenses and have these deductions to reduce your tax liability to Uncle Sam. That's a big win for you. The other side of that coin is when you go to qualify for a mortgage, we as lenders, based on those guidelines that we didn't write, have to qualify you based on that net income figure. So there can be this moment where as the consumer gets educated on this, they go, well, hold on a minute, but I make X amount of money a year. And we have to then walk them through. We understand that, but based on the way the guidelines are written and how we're supposed to do this, we have to take these things into consideration so the income figure we use, in some cases, not all cases, is lower than the client actually thinks it should be. So we have to be able to walk you through that. So that's the biggest thing to be aware of in terms of if you have not done this before, that's something that will come up a lot. The other thing that's important as far as being self-employed to think about when it comes to the documentation side of it. So when you go through this process and you're self-employed, what documentation is it that's going to be required, right? This is a huge question. And keep in mind as a disclaimer, it will slightly change or can change depending on your scenario. It can be very specific. But generally speaking, to give you kind of an overarching education on this, typically, lenders are going to want your last 2 years of filed federal tax returns on the personal side. Then depending on how much ownership you have in other entities or businesses, we may need actual business returns as well. In addition to that, we may ask you for a year-to-date profit and loss statement. So a quick example would be, we get your 2019 tax returns, your 2020 tax returns, and then your 2021 year-to-date P&L because you haven't filed your 21 tax return yet. And the reason lending guidelines ask for that profit and loss statement is to just get an unofficial document that in some way supports and stabilizes what we're looking at on your last 2 years of returns to sort of make the whole picture complete. We also understand at Bison that our clients don't always understand these things, right? Because you don't do this every day like we do. So we have to have that empathy for you every step of the way and through the conversations. And as an example, if we're asking somebody for a profit and loss statement on a secondary job where they're maybe an artist, right? They've got a W-2 job over here, but they do art on the side and make $50,000 a year and we're going to use some of that income to qualify, well, in a certain scenario, we might need a profit and loss statement. That person may not understand how to do a profit and loss statement. So we're here to educate you through that, right? We are always mindful of, do they understand what we're asking them for and do they understand why we're asking them for it? That's the most important piece. Our team has tons of experience with self-employed business owners. We have worked with many of them over the course of our careers, and I would love to say that we've seen it all, but I know that I can't say that, but I can tell you that it's very rare that we come across a situation with a self-employed borrower that we haven't seen. And the key to this is just understanding that our team will help navigate you through this. We will bring as much comfort and simplicity to a very complex part of the process. And the best thing you can do if you're self-employed, even if you don't think you're going to do anything mortgage-wise for even a year or longer, have us look under the hood, ask the right questions, and give you just a framework to understand what you could do, because it may end up giving you information where you might change things that you do in the future to get you to where you want to be and get you the successful result of qualifying for a new home.